So I wanted to continue talking about some of the subjects. Um, you know, it, I know I've already talked about this with all respect of the tragedy that had happened. This was like, I think I heard that story about that little girl that had died. Uh, it was just one of the, it was just, especially for Carrollton, one of the awful homicidal that get placed on these. Obviously, this happens a lot more often than we think, and you have a lot of people that just don't get reach the news station. But for to be thrown in a ditch like that, especially for people find someone to find in a neighborhood like that, was just like it's not particularly the richest neighborhood. Kind of, sort of a little bit of a poverty-stricken area, some poor apartments. But anyway, the reason I related is because I thought that maybe this had to do with. I thought that was like Albert's sister or something, right? I'm thinking like, oh, maybe they just had that to see, and they have a system how, and I'm not trying to go down the path of just negative thinking of tragedies, but one of the reasons it was bothering me is just like I don't ever try to play psychic or intuition. I just you have to use your sort of your gut feeling and your instincts, but I just don't have the time and the world and in the environment and world that I live in to mess with belief or any of that. So, but there's some questionable things sometimes. That it's sort of unexplained, and one of the ways that I think of this is, I remember being on the soccer field and seeing our sister, and one of the reasons that I remember running on the field because I was thinking this is not the place and time. I'm playing soccer, like this is not a I love you, you love me playing on the soccer field, because I didn't know who she was personally. I just knew she was Albert's sister, and I sort of felt embarrassed a little bit. Shy, like this is a soccer field, I'm playing soccer, this isn't I love you, you love me in front of everybody, and but the reason I say this is I remember running on a soccer field, and it was like either a gust of wind or this, and it was weird because it was on a sunny day. We're in Vivian Field, right across from Vivian Middle School, and it was an open field. And I remember it was like, if you were to say, you ever seen the movie Constantine, where there is a dark, dynamic cloud that is just sort of hovering, and it passes by people, and it seems to sort of either trigger or find its target or whatever. It was maybe something like that. And I remember almost turning around because I remember I was thinking, I looked at her, and I just got this huge impression that somebody was going to kill her. Somebody was going to kill her. Like somebody was going to do something bad. And it was almost like I sort of felt this something, because I turned around because I thought, wait a minute, what the fuck? What the fuck was that? And I remember turning around or like looking, and it was on a sunny day. There was no one within 20 yards from me. I'm on the soccer field, and we were sort of away from we were about in between the middle of the bleachers and the corner kick goal. And so there was no one around us, and there was nothing. And I remember thinking, like, why did I all of a sudden I feel anger or something? And I don't know if it was like an impression, but I just remember her smiling, and I thought, like, either this person was, the being of this person is super vulnerable, like the super innocence of something that so makes him so bright is exactly how dark something else that comes that wants to seek it, because it's that good. And because the evil doesn't want to just recruit more bad. It wants to recruit the ones that are doing the best. Because you know you want this. Why Jesus said he was tested and the devil approached him. Obviously, that's during biblical times, but it's very common too that if you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil. You may be favored by God, but you're also going to be favored by the devil. That's what that means. And and I think it's important because it would frighten me even more if I was right about that. But I don't pay attention to any of it. Sometimes it bothers me, certain things, because I don't want to be right. Like The Simpsons, something like that, where because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the world, but I don't really pay attention to it. I think and all the reading that I've done and all the stuff that I've gone through, the structural, without a doubt, I think that the church, the Catholicism, believes it has the better is the structure of how we need to live our lives, because it sort of blossoms to an understanding and an overall picture for everybody, even if it's unfair more for others, and just as a human being to give understanding of compassion, separation, different paths, and different journeys. Because the world gets very complicated a lot for all of us. Why did this happen to me, or why didn't this happen to me, and all this other shit. And you start to lose answers, and you start to, that psychic medium shit is very short-lived, in my opinion. Is not going to work. It is not. You couldn't teach nothing but just medium behavior, thinking you could make a mediumship church only, and thinking that is just going to construct, in my opinion, send people to heaven or paradise. It's not going to work that way, because you have too many different types of lifestyles. The church gets used for war, gets used for spiritual understanding of something that could be haunting, like the movies that we make in the U.S. to terrorize the world, in horror movies, like The Conjuring and shit like that, because you can get all these blessings in life, and you think that God gave you these, and He did, or God did, whether He's a he or she. I think it's bigger than that. I think that what happens is that you have, I forgot what I was going to say. You have people that go to war, and they tell you to get a gun and kill people, human beings, and that's the permanent end of everything. And then you get these riches, win these lotteries, and you get a disease and get 6 months to live, or you lose a limb, or you get burned, or you get disfigured, or you go blind. There's so many different paths and so many different situations that it's an overall place that is best fitting, and every church isn't the same. So, so I think it's important for me to talk about that. It's so I think it's important, and I think it's important for me to talk about. I hope I don't ever, but it bothers me rather that I could be right at times, and a tragedy, something like that happen. Because, gosh, I saw when I saw Chico's wife after she got murdered. He got murdered. She was crying, like it was a very bad, bad cry, like really bad cry. And he had kids in the house, and he had kids in the house, and he had a daughter, and it was pretty bad at the funeral. And anyway, so I thought it would be important for to talk about. But I don't know. As far as moving on forward to the next topic I wanted to talk about is going to Rhode Island. Going to Rhode Island, I'm really pushing it. I have to get there because I have to wait, enroll in the classes within 2 to 3 weeks, no more than 4 weeks to be settled in. Settled in, residence, already the application sent out, doing some interviews, and get little things that I need. Whether it's a couple cans of tuna, maybe a fridge if they have one there or not. I got to figure out the tables, kind of get situated, buy some soap, a little find the dollar store, start mapping out, the dollar stores and whatnot for my convenience. I am going to get the scooter, which is going to be a nicer scooter, but I'm hoping to hopefully it'll be better because it's a smaller city and smaller state. But I'm hoping that the environment won't be so bad, be a little bit more safer, because it's dangerous riding the scooter. I mean, I just don't ever. It's very, very dangerous. For those that would be riding with me, if I took you a camera of how I'm rolling around, it's dangerous. You can get, I fall, break a bone, get scraped up, I get hit by a car. It's a good scare. It's a good, paraplegic. Hit my head directly on a concrete just because I fuck up. You just don't know, and it's very dangerous. There's potholes, and I don't want to be terrorizing other cars as well and scaring people. So, I got to take it very careful. So I'm got to find remote roads that are deterred away from other vehicles, more safer. This other scooter that I was going to get is supposed to be really good. It has suspension on it. And this time, when I buy the lights, I'm gonna nearly the whole fucking thing is gonna be covered in lights, because it's just better to be safer. I'm spotted, I'm recognized, and the cars see me, and it's legal. And and it'll be better that way. But I can save some money, some dollars. And the other scooter I was looking at is supposed to go up to 30 miles, I think 30 miles per hour, but it goes up to like 40 to 50 miles or something like that. Was it 30? I think it's 30 to 40 miles. About 40 miles, 35 to 40 miles, but about 30, I think it said 30 miles an hour, maybe even 35, but to me 30 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour is good enough for me, no more than probably 30. 30's tops, because at that speed you go too fast, and you can't go that fast unless it's on a fucking road. It's not necessary. 25 miles an hour, like even the scooter that I get, yeah, it's good. In my opinion, 30 miles an hour is like, is pushing it. But it has suspension, has thick tires, help with vibrations, more grip on the ground, more sturdy, could cover more potholes more safely. But it is very dangerous. Like, as much as I get into, when I'm turning all these corners and I'm traveling, it's very sketchy, because, you get hit. It's not just the whole situation of having something like that happen, but for me trying to hurry up and get to a location, I could be a paraplegic for the rest of my life. I can, get brain damage because I hit the car and my head goes straight into the windshield, and it just hit hard enough in my head to cause brain damage, partial brain damage. And you're paralyzed on one side of your face, can't see in the other, and you're sort of just drilling, kind of sort of lost a little bit, and you end up in a nursing home. You never know something like that could happen, so it's always good to be precautional and safe. This is not me, how much I can play with death. That is not a game I'm playing. This is not see how risky and brave I am on a fucking scooter. This is not what this is. Or I'm trying to look for excitement, I'm looking to save some money and get to enjoy the scenery and on a scooter, get to my transportation. and I'll have to start looking to see where my destination is on my walks. So wherever I end up living, what's my walking distance? Because walking, to me, in my opinion, is the best exercise you could be doing. And specifically, not just because there's people that walk in offices all day or stand in one position, but walking directly to a far distance consistently, like that on the terrain. Like, I think it's much more healthier to walk 1 mile outside from point A to point B than walk 1 mile inside back and forth in the office and area, just because the level of exercise and then what that does to the body. And I think to me, that's the best exercise is getting plenty of walking exercise, and lots of it. I've always enjoyed, I'm telling you, if you saw how much walking in places I was doing when I was a kid, you won't find anybody in Carrollton did what I did. I'm telling you, there was some that came close, but that's it. Some that came close, but and I thought it was, it was crazy because I was talking about walking. I remember there was this kid named David, and he was kind of like a little bit off. And one of the ways if you talk to him, you know what I meant. You know what I'm talking about. But I remember Anthony went over to him because he was a blonde hair white kid too, and he went over to him, like, tried to talk to him, like, oh hey, like he barely even knew the kid, and I knew this kid since he was like a kid, and he was always a little bit off, like just wandering. And I heard about years later that he got into a fight over a joint with like a friend, and he got a gun and he killed him over a joint and then shot himself. But I remember for years, he used to just walk up and down the streets. And if you looked at his face and you looked the way that he would just look like he was consistently just wandering. And that, like, wandering about life. And he was doing this at such a young age, and I was at Six Flags, and I remember sort of seeing this kid, and kind of reminded me, it kind of shocked me a little bit, because it made me think of this kid. I don't know what the story was, but to my understanding, he had shot himself. He killed him. I tried being empathetic with him. Like, I hung out with him a couple of times, and I remember walking with him because he enjoyed sort of walking and talking with him. And I remember I knew at that time he was kind of his mental state was just kind of sketchy, kind of like, I don't know if it was guy who was suicidal, kind of. But I remember feeling empathetic, like sort of feeling I had to be this counselor to this guy. And just to make him feel like he was a person. Because he didn't look like he necessarily had a lot of people wanting to be around him. But he wasn't violent. He would just be walking, grabbing leaves, and just kind of just wandering a lot of places. And he used to live on the corner, just down the corner from Orlando. But I think he had a pretty hot sister at that time too. But anyway, I thought I'd talk about it for a minute. And so